All right, next project. 96 Dodge Ram, 12 valve. My master cylinder isn't doing so hot, and this truck's got about 340,000 miles on it. I don't know how old this particular master cylinder is, but I've had this truck and put over 100,000 on it myself. And this is what was in it, so that may well be the original master cylinder, and it's really starting to act up. Typical brake booster vacuum system, which I had in my 94, and I was never really happy with that, and I've never really been happy with the brakes in this truck. So we are going to do a very common swap, and I've read about it. Other people have done some videos, but nobody's really done a comprehensive video, at least not that I could find. This truck is going to get a 2001 3500 Hydroboost, and it should be a direct bolt. Take off your vacuum booster, same 4 bolts that you've got here. I guess this shaft size, I'm told, is a little different, that you want to change it. I have a new master cylinder on order. I'm not going to use the one I got from the used parts store, or sorry, from the used junkyard. This did come with all the hard lines, and it did come with the power steering hoses. I specifically looked for that when I was trying to find it where that was all included. And you can reuse your power steering pump. I went ahead and opted to get a new one because on the 96 vacuum systems on the power steering pump, while it is the same pump, these have returns for both your power steering and the Hydroboost. So this should be direct bolt. I'll be swapping out all the brake fluid. I'll be swapping out all the power steering fluid. I may put the GM 1 3/16 back here. I don't know. These don't seem bad, so I may just let them be. I think they're still the standard Dodge ones. I know the brakes up front are good. So that being said, I'm going to begin to disassemble here. First thing we're going to do is take off the old master cylinder, get all this disconnected, and then we'll be taking off the vacuum drum. I think for access to the power steering pump, while you probably don't have to do it, I'm going to take my intake pipe off just to give myself a little bit more room here. Get this out of the way. So that's what I'm going to start with, just to make myself a little bit of room, and then I'll start disassembling my master cylinder. All right, I decided to take the boot off from down underneath because it's just a lot easier to reach than the upper clamp on the boot. And just while I'm here, I guess I don't ever really have to worry about my oil pan rusting out. So we've got our nice oily Cummins under here, higher mileage. Not too concerned, but I guess the bad news is I got oily and you get dirty when you work under here. Good news is, I guess I got a protected oil pan. All right, so I took off my intake pipe just so I had a lot more room in this area to work with. And as it turns out, I'm really glad I did take it off. I decided to take the entire horn off instead of just the pipe. So there's the grid heater. But I'm really glad I did this, because if you look here, you can see my gasket was compromised. That's not for me pulling it off. It was bad. I didn't hear anything pull up a crack or anything when I was taking it off. But I've been chasing boost leaks in this thing, and I think I may have just found one of them. So I guess it turned out to be a good thing I took this off. That just kind of got old and hard and dry. I actually think I have another one of these gaskets around. So that'll be getting a new gasket. So killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Glad we found that. So next we are going to, what am I going to take off next? I think maybe I'll just attack the master cylinder next. Start getting that out of my way. So we'll just take off the lines, take off the bracket down here, and then we'll be ready to yank the booster out. So that's basically all there is to it. So let me get to it. So far, really simple. Just took off the brake lines, took off the little grounding strap, and I'm not quite sure where that's going to go on the Hydroboost. I guess I could just tap any little hole there and tie it to it. It was on part of the brakes. I'm not even sure what that's a ground for. You can see that it's definitely made to be there on this. Well, actually, I guess that bracket is going to go back on, so that'll be all right. That'll go back on, so I don't have to tap anything. 215 mils, and the lines are off. That's off. 215 mils. Pull this right out. Well, my vacuum canister must still be good, because when I pulled off the master cylinder, I got a nice big suction sound out of it, so I'll presume that means this was holding vacuum pretty well. I've noticed that with the brakes in the past. I mean, it wasn't a case of this canister not having vacuum. It's always had good vacuum. Once I got everything off here, got the master cylinder off, I don't know what this wire pigtail goes to, but it's been broken for some time, and I have absolutely no idea what this goes to. And I'm thinking it had something to do down here on the brakes. I don't know. I mean, this has its plug-in on the other side. My plug-in's there, so it's not plugged to that. So I don't know what those go to. It's not my, it's not my shut-off solenoid, or I would have trouble with the truck. Plus the wire there looks just fine. I have no idea what that pigtail goes to. But again, looking at these wires have been broken off for a long time. Those are my water sensor wires. They're fine. All right, I've taken the 4 bolts off, the 4 nuts off inside. This drum, when I pulled the 2 nuts out here and pulled the master cylinder off, had good vacuum after 24 hours, which is good news. Pulled off this vacuum line, or not vacuum line, I'm sorry, pulled off my electrical connector. This line is 9/16 to the front of the proportioning valve. Same thing on this side was 9/16. I believe that removing this one and this one is going to allow me to take this assembly out just as I said, as an assembly. Take this off from my pressure switch. Oh, my pressure switch is bent. That's nice. Never knew that. Let's see if that allows me to take this off now as an assembly. I hope. Did I get that all the way out? I thought I did. I did. It's off. I'm hoping I can take this out. That's what I wanted. I took that out as an assembly, and I'll put that back on as an assembly when I'll clean this all up. And I'll put that back on, put these 2 on for the ABS pump. So now I should be able to lift this canister out. Let's go put this back. My old one, and I did buy a brand new power steering pump, or well, yeah, I did buy a new power steering pump, but I also bought a brand new master cylinder. This one doesn't look bad, but who the heck knows. So we'll put that one on there, and we'll do a bench bleed on it. Put that on, and when I put that assembly I just took off with these 2 nuts, hopefully they line up. Alright, I was starting to say that my camera cut off, and I don't know when. So I'm hoping that the bracket for this assembly fits on the same 2 studs that this old master cylinder is sitting on. I'm told on the 2001s the spacing here might be just a little bit different. If it is, I may have to modify this slightly to fit. But the intention is this sits down right below, just like the one did on the original. So there's my nice new master cylinder. Now that's out. Got everything out of the way. At this point, I think I should be able to just pull this out. So I'm going to go ahead and just finagle and wiggle this out, and be careful of my lines, and pull out the old booster. Alright, so I've removed the return line and this power steering line. That's an 18 mil nut on the end of it for the with a line wrench. I went out and grabbed one. I ended up having to actually cut off the return line. That was just, it was on there. I don't know if you can see in the camera, there's actually a piece of it still just basically welded to it. I just couldn't, it was so on there. And then of course down there's on the other end down at the power steering itself. So I ended up just cutting the line off. Now there's one bracket holding on the positive cable here, and that's a 15 mil nut. So I'm going to take that off, and then I'm going to look at what I got to do to take off this air pump. Should be just two vacuum pump. Should be just two bolts according to everybody. I see one. I think the other one's going to be underneath. That'll be tough. I wish there was a way to get it all the nuts to just take off the power steering reservoir, because that's what I'm putting on for the power reservoir and pump. But everybody says you have to take off the vacuum pump, so that's what I'll do. Okay, let me just get this one nut off, and then we'll see about getting out the vacuum pump. Following procedure, I took off the oil line at the bottom of the vacuum pump, the oil feed line, and now I loosened up right below the fitting here is one of the two adapter to vacuum pump bolts. They're 13 mil. There's one here, and then there's one on the other side toward the block, and I found the only way I could get on that one was using a universal joint. I couldn't get back there with a wrench or anything else, but I did get it loose. So next, as I understand it, I did take off the wires. I unplugged the grid heater wire, which is what that one is, and then the oil pressure sending wire. So they got everything out of the way here. So I'm going to take off the there's one you can see there, sort of. There's one. They're 15 mil. By the way, those adapters were 13. I suspect the back one's going to be a pain in the butt to get at, just like the other thing. We'll see how that works. I know they talk about working from underneath. That may be what I have to do to get to that other bolt, but we're going to go ahead and take this off. Now you know you have a Cummins. Alright, little quick update. I thought you took these two 15s out and took the whole gear housing out. I loosened those up, and for the life of me I couldn't get this to budge and come out of there. And what I found is there is an L bracket underneath this thing. I actually had to watch somebody else's video that struggled with the same thing I did. This thing wouldn't move. I took the two 13 mil nuts completely out on the housing from after I saw what others had done. You don't actually have to, I don't think we'd take the whole gear housing out. I think all we do is take the 13s off and that one bracket nut, which I've almost loosened up, and I took it out by hand. I don't know if you can see it. I'm reaching underneath now. Two 13s, and there was another 15 mil nut on a bracket. And let's see if this moves. I see it wiggling. Maybe I do have to take those out. Starting to wonder. Hope I don't take the whole bracket off. Nope, there it goes. So that just separated. That just separated from the housing right there. Let's see if I can get this out of here. All right, I need two hands to wiggle this, but you can see that it just separated as soon as I did that and pulled right apart, which is what we wanted. I see there's an alignment pin and everything there. Okay, I'm going to wiggle this around a little bit. I don't want to take any kind of fuel lines off or anything. I'm supposed to be able to do this without doing that, so let me wiggle this around. All right, it's kind of nice to be into reassembly mode. So I've taken out the 4 studs, moved them onto the new power steering pump. I'm trying to get the tanks here lined up as close as I can to what the old one was. I didn't move that, and I haven't moved this. I'm hoping that by doing this, I can put this whole assembly back on, and if none of this moved, that the inside tank for this is all lined up and I don't have to pull the vacuum pump gear mechanism off. This is the vacuum pump, but hopefully I don't have to pull the gear drive off to get those things to align, but we'll see. Okay, so we're going to put that back on and see if we can get it back in the truck.